Now, strictly speaking, this isn't actually a challenge design, but Sara sent it in with a couple of questions because she didn't realise until later that the leprechaun videos weren't leading to the challenge. And she saw the graphic files that I included and thought I was setting the leprechaun for the challenge. And her main question was, why don't my outlines match my stitching? I very carefully put them on the trace lines and yet they don't match. And she sent a photograph of her stitch out, and you can quite clearly see they don't match. They match here on the accordion, the face. You've given him pink teeth. I mean, that's miserable, Sara. How could you give a leprechaun pink teeth? They're supposed to be white. But here, up around the shamrock, they're way off. And Sara wants to know why. Well, there are a couple of good reasons, Sara, and the main culprit is the size of the design. It's huge. It's full width of the design of the hoop, 140 by 200. I don't know what machine you've got. And it's 6.93 inches tall. It's 5.5 wide and 6.93 tall, which is very nearly 7 inches. And the density setting is 0.4. Consistently right the way through. 0.4 is a tight density. My lovely little old MC10000 hated 0.4 density. It would create all kinds of problems for it. Even my 9900 doesn't like 0.4 density. So I digitize 0.43 up to 0.5. Because our embroidery thread is a floss and it's designed to spread a bit when it's stitched, to give cover. And when it's 0.4 for your density, it can't spread. So you've got 36,574 stitches, all doing their level best to twist that fabric this way, that way, every other way. And of course your outline goes in last. By the time the outline goes in, damage has been done to the fabric. So a smaller design has a much better chance of surviving and the outlines matching up. Now on both sets of videos, I think you'll find that the leprechauns were a lot smaller than 5.5 inches wide and 6.93 inches tall. I know the penny whistle one was, and I know my Embered version was smaller. I don't think they were much more than 4.5 inches tall. So you've got to bear the scale in mind. And you did make a good job of placing your outlines, but you didn't allow for the push-pull for when the thread went through the needle in your machine and that needle went through your hoop and your fabric. Okay, so if you're going to do a large cover fill design, which is what this is, you've got to think, what fabric am I going to use? It's got to be a stable fabric. Then you've got to ask yourself, what stabilizer am I going to use? It's got to be one that's going to hold that fabric. Then you've got to think, okay, how much overlap do I need to use? How much underlap do I need to use? Do I need to outline the whole design, or do I only need to outline parts of it? And I think in this instance, you would have done better just to outline the features on the face, not the whole figure, because the design is so big. Now, I personally don't like outlines on designs. I know I've done a few. I did my Valentine card, but I mean, the largest figure on that design was 4.5 inches. That was height. And he was a skinny little wimp. And my density was 0.43, sometimes 0.45. And the background, green rectangle, was 1mm. You made a nice job of digitizing it. Apart from the pink teeth. He looks as though he's taken it. Is it a disclosure tablet? You know, you suck this tablet, and if your teeth have got plaque on them, they go pink. Poor little thing. If I were you, sweetheart, I would shrink it. Take it down by about 40%. Let me show you what I mean. Dimensions. First of all, we'll put him into the centre of the hoop. I don't know which machine you had and which one you used to stitch it out. 60 by 60. That makes it just over 4 inches tall. And if I remember correctly, I did put a border of shamrocks around him, so that would have been about the size that I digitized at. You're more likely to get your outlines in the correct position at that kind of size, and it's down to 19,000 stitches. But at the size that you sent it to me, it is too big for outlines. And we'll put it back to the size it was. 36,500 stitches, all doing their best to pull in, tighten up, yank your fabric out of your hoop. Because that's what it's trying to do. Please give them some white teeth. Oh dear. And the reason... Oh, excuse me. One of the reasons as well that you probably got a mismatch on your outline up here is because your fill angle on your hat, which is... Let's go and find it. 156. And then the fill angle on this, which is 22. Your stitching is going in this direction, so that's pulling like crazy down that way. I'm pushing this out a bit. I'm pulling this in, pulling this in, pulling this in, you know, and the same on the return, pulling it all in. Besides that all being pulled in, you've also got this one pulling that in that direction and pulling this in that direction. Let's just turn that off. And then of course with your beard as well, you've got that 146 coming across this way, and this is being pulled in, and so is this direction. It's being pushed out slightly here, and here, and here, because that's practically parallel to the angle. So all these things play a role in why designs and outlines don't always match up. But the biggest culprit is the size of the design. And then the next culprit, stitch density, 0.4. Watch these things here. You've got like little knots, then a stitch, little knot, then a stitch, little knot. Okay, up 1, up 2, see how it's opening up 3, up 4, up 5. It's giving each row just that little bit extra room to spread. I watch it as I take it back down again, how it tightens up. There we go. So your stitch density, your fabric, your stabilizer, but mainly the size of your design. That's the big one. Fills the hoop. Okay, Sarah, I'm going to finish this now because it's, 4 minutes to 11 and I need to get to bed very, very soon. It's been a long day. In fact, it's been a long 2 weeks. And I've got a computer that's it's slower than I am, and I'm slow enough. And it's going to take an age for this to render. I'll close this now. You did a nice job on your design. But remember, if you want your outlines to match up, yes, you can use your wire outlines, the no stitch view, to help you place where you want your outline. But do it only on smaller designs, not big ones. When it gets too big, there's too much room for error. There's too much distortion on your fabric, because outlines normally get stitched last. And by that time, the fabric's already massively distorted by the number of stitches that are in the design. Okay. Oh, excuse me. I'll see you in the next set of videos.